Where Chad, it's Cole here. I'm here again on Wednesday to fill in, and this week's topic deals with fictional characters and what fictional character or characters do we relate to in terms of gender. I had a hard time with this one, to be honest with you. Since coming out as genderqueer, I mainly just read nonfiction. I don't really read a lot of fiction these days, but I did think of something that I read a few years back, which is Tipping the Velvet by Sarah Waters. There is a character in Tipping the Velvet whose name is Nan, and this Tipping the Velvet is based in the late 1800s, I believe, and it's basically just Nan is the main character, and it's sort of her journey through her finding out what her sexual orientation is, and also finding out what her gender identity is in the late 1800s, which was difficult. But there's a lot of reasons why I relate to her, but I'll go ahead and give you just kind of a synopsis of the gender part of it, because it's really long, it has a lot of parts, and you should read the book for sure. I think there's a movie also. But Nan is super innocent and lives with her family at the beginning of the book, and she's dating a guy and trying to make that work, but there's just something missing for her. There's no chemistry there, etc. So she actually lives with her family. They own an oyster bar or something. Like, it's pretty funny. Anyway, so she goes to a show with her dad and sees this gorgeous drag king. Sort of, it wasn't called a drag king, but a performer, female-born performer dressed in drag, and basically singing a song about like being in love with this girl. So her name's Kitty. So she sees Kitty perform, and she is just blown away. I mean, she's never seen, gender bending or anything, or anything like that. So, so after seeing that, she becomes friends with Kitty. She sort of keeps coming back to the show and seeing her, and there's an obvious romantic connection there for her. And they become friends, and eventually Kitty actually asks her to go on tour with her, and they begin this sort of, I don't know, relationship, I guess you can say. At first just platonic for a long time, and then eventually more. But what's interesting about this particular character is that as the movie progresses, she starts to herself experiment with gender bending and dressing in drag and etc. I think at first to sort of be closer to Kitty, but eventually she realizes how much she loves being in drag and how great it feels to perform with Kitty, in this fashion, this queer fashion. Eventually things didn't work out with them. It was pretty terrible, but you can read the book if you want to know what happened between them. But even afterwards, she continued to dress in drag, perform in drag. She had some pretty terrible jobs, but again, you should read it. But what I relate to her the most about gender is that it was a journey for her, which it is for me. I also related to her fluidity in her gender, and the fact that she didn't identify as trans at all. I mean, her character didn't ever have any type of dysphoria or anything. She was just about as comfortable in a dress as she was in full-on drag. So I guess it was a genderqueer character, which I really enjoyed. I also relate to her because of her ability, or because of how she had to come out to her family, and how she rejected the gender roles assigned to her, because she had a nice guy that she could have settled down with, but she decided to go on her own way and do what she wanted. In the end, I think it suited her well, and it ended pretty well for her in the end. I also relate to her in terms of how naive she was before experiencing Kitty's gender bending. I felt similar. Also, I felt really sheltered, like I hadn't been exposed to a lot of gender variance before. So I think that was another way that I related to her. But that's really the only character that I feel like in terms of gender I've related to in a non-fiction or in a fiction setting. Maybe I'm definitely gonna watch the other videos and see if I can get into some more fiction, because lately it's just been all queer theory for a couple years. But I do love this story. It's fantastic, and the film is 3 parts, I believe. The book doesn't look as long as the movie is, but anyway, it's a great story. Lots of really, really great characters in the book and in the film. So yeah, you guys should check it out. Sorry for the short video this week, but I wish I had more fictional characters that I could draw from, but this is the one that I could remember that was genderqueer and things like that. So anyway, you guys have a great week. Bye bye.